the first time the Taliban ran Afghanistan from around 1996 to 2001, they rather struggled for friends. Only 3 other countries recognized them as the legitimate government of Afghanistan: Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Pakistan. Your correspondent still has, in an old passport in a drawer somewhere, a Taliban visa issued by their modest consulate in Peshawar in 1998, along with the second visa it was necessary to acquire once in Kabul to be allowed to leave. I cannot recall if the latter cost more than the former, but it would have been value at 10 times the price. This is, to be clear, no reflection on Afghanistan, a beautiful country, or its people, who I found on this and one subsequent visit to be extraordinarily hospitable, but on the Taliban, who, then as now, were difficult to like, being as they were, and indeed are, a mob of theocratic gangsters operating a brutal misogynist apartheid. Since they retook power in 2021 following the abandonment of Afghanistan by the United States and its allies, no other country has recognized their regime. In recent days, however, this has changed. Russia has announced that it now formally acknowledges the Taliban as Afghanistan's government. It is important to note that Russia is among a small cohort of countries which never entirely left. Despite the lack of official recognition of the Taliban, some embassies, 16 or 17 or so, have stayed open in Kabul, and not exclusively the usual suspects. Japan restarted limited operations out of its Afghan embassy back in 2022. But that is not quite the same as recognizing the government and engaging with it as such. So why has Russia decided to go first?
Russian troops invaded Ukraine, a free and sovereign country. We condemn this barbaric attack.
Well, there are not many advantages to completely trashing such reputation as you had by launching a demented revanchist assault upon a neighbouring state, but one is perhaps that peculiar freedom that comes of having nothing much to lose. The countries which already dislike Russia because of its rampage in Ukraine aren't going to think any the less of Russia for recognising the Taliban, and the countries which aren't much bothered by Russia's actions in Ukraine have thereby already announced that they're broadly okay with Russia doing something worse than recognising the Taliban. Although with absolutely exquisite timing, just as Russia announced that it would normalise relations with Afghanistan, the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for the arrest of Taliban Supreme Leader Haibatullah Akhundzada, so presidents on the hook on charges of crimes against humanity is now something else Russia and Afghanistan have in common.
After a thorough investigation, my office submits that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the Supreme Leader of the Taliban bear criminal responsibility for the crime against humanity of persecution on gender grounds under Article 71H of the Rome Statute.
There is also, it might be plausibly argued, an element of resignation to reality on Russia's part, which is to say that, like it or not, the Taliban are the government of Afghanistan. There appears little prospect of this changing, so it's either deal with them or don't deal with Afghanistan at all. And it's not like the world isn't full of regimes of assorted shades of ghastliness which are invited nevertheless to send ambassadors to and receive ambassadors from the broadly civilized world. There is still, for example, a Russian embassy on Kensington Palace Gardens in London and a British embassy on the Smolenskaya embankment in Moscow. And maybe Russia has learned at least one lesson from history to the effect that there's an easy way and a hard way to secure the cooperation of Afghanistan. The Soviet Union tried the hard way between 1979 and 1989, attempting to subdue Afghanistan by force before folding in the face of guerrilla resistance from the Mujahideen, the Afghan militias who were in some respects precursors of the Taliban. That war is believed in some quarters to have precipitated the Soviet Union's collapse a few years later, although the Red Army's total casualties in a decade in Afghanistan were roughly equivalent to a bad month for the Russian army in Ukraine now. Nevertheless, what actual benefit is there to doing this? Russia does have legitimate concerns about Afghanistan becoming, again, a haven for terrorist groups. The attack on the Crocus City venue in Moscow in March 2024, which killed 145 people, was claimed by ISIS-K, the franchise of Islamic State which operates out of Afghanistan and regards the Taliban as liberal lightweights. In recognizing the Taliban, Russia may hope to make a friend of their enemy's enemy. There is also the fact that, what with one thing and another, Russia now struggles for European customers for its oil, gas and other exports. A pipeline and/or railroad from Russia to Pakistan via Afghanistan would offer Russia greater access to Asian markets and the Indian Ocean. And though Russia has gone first, it will not be the last. After a discrete interval, expect similar moves from China, Iran, Pakistan, Egypt, Iraq, Malaysia, Turkey, and others which have already welcomed Taliban-appointed emissaries of one kind or another. It would be unsurprising if at least some of the Western world followed them. Everybody has always wanted something from Afghanistan. If they didn't, its history would have been a lot less eventful. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.